Hi, my name is Lala. I'm the Director of Education and also Student Services in Hamilton Park Montessori School. I'm also the director in middle school as well. So everything concerns middle school. I'll be here to help parents and the students and the teachers. So I think the difference between Montessori education and the traditional education is that traditional education usually will be focusing on the curriculum, and every student need to fit in that curriculum. However, in Montessori, we're more focusing on the students. So it's not like one curriculum fit with everyone. Instead of that, it will be we observe the students, we come up with a lesson plan, we still have the curriculum. However, it's like how to use the curriculum is based on the difference between all different students. So for example, if a student actually can be benefit from like a small group lesson will be better than individual lesson, we will do that, right? Because we know what is the best style for each student, and the student center is the main focus for Montessori education. So I first come to New York University to start study the early childhood education, and I started like studying, and then after a year, one of my advisors actually suggests me about Montessori approach, and the reason by that time she suggests me is that she feel like my thinking is more fitting with the approach. So I got curious. I'm like, okay, let me try that. So I took some of the weekend courses on top of my master degree courses, and then turned out to be I really like it. And the whole Montessori training involves like 2 years by that time. It was 2003. So it would have that 2 years of the course training, which include all different kind of subjects, and then 1 year of internship, meaning I need to work in a. I was studying the 3 to 6 year old, more called just early childhood, but Montessori is mixed age group, so I'll be really need to working in the classroom like a intern, and also get the feedback from my lead teachers and my mentor, and then do all the coursework. During the whole year, I have to practice all the materials of the Montessori materials. So that was the early childhood piece. And after so many years, I also decide to take the adolescent training. So adolescent training in Montessori will be like 12 to 18. So that one also has 1.5 year of the philosophy course training first, and then I have to function in the classroom to teach one of the subjects. And by that time, I was teaching the humanities. So, like for those two trainings, pretty much get this much time to make sure I can really teach the subject. So I do really like it. I have to say once again, like what I said before, because Montessori is so focused on who is the child center, the student center, right? So that brings me to really enjoy my teaching. My teaching wouldn't be the same every single day, day after day, just repeat a curriculum. It will be very different. Even one morning, I teach humanities in middle school. It was 4 courses, and pretty much they're similar age group, right? But every class is different. The conversation is different, and that really makes me feel like it's not the same thing repeated again and again. It's really interesting. So this is our humanities classroom. The students want to name it imagination because they feel this subject takes a lot of things to imagine. And as you can see, like our ways to set up the furniture is like by looking at this, you probably get the sense that we want them to talk to each other because this is a subject. Humanities include the history, geography, civic, and like these issues all together. So we have a 3 year spiral, that kind of curriculum, and we want students to have lots of conversations to discuss about what's happening in the world, what happened in the past, and how can that affect what's happening today. Learn from the history, right? So those are very important lessons, and that takes a lot of conversation. And the best part about those conversations is people don't agree. Like that's actually literally the best part. Like they don't agree with each other, and really we want to think about how can we discuss about a solution, or even not solution, even just understand each other's point of view. That's a very important lesson for future world. It's not just making comments online. It's like how can we have that human skills to talk to each other, and these are all happening in this classroom. Yes. So actually, that's the one of the areas I work on in our school. So starting from the time I was in early childhood classrooms, yes, there will be some students who will be having hard time to understand the concept. We use the materials to teach the concept, and sometimes materials actually becomes one of the obstacles. Believe it or not, it's actually very interesting. But once again, Montessori is always focusing on observation. So once we observe, I always want to focus on observing those students. Where is the difficulties? What is the struggle, right? Like when you're operating on those materials, do you really not able to get a concept, or is just like there's some process of the operation and the student need to practice a little bit more? And from that, for that age group, we do observe and do direct teaching a lot. And the same thing happened in middle school. However, when they are middle schoolers, one thing I also focus on is their social emotional, because a lot of times the struggle and that frustration about like I'm not getting the concept come to the adolescent age actually makes them very even more anxious. Like the puberty does not help already, but then now like having difficulty about learning, things become so much harder, and they also are very aware and sensitive about how the peers view them. So that becomes need to have another layer of how are we going to handle social emotionally to support them. So I will say overall, my answer always to parents will be like it's through the observation, right? If one, let's say student A and student B, they both not getting some concept, but based on who they are, how are we going to handle the situation? That through a lot of observation and also working with them will help me understand the struggle. By really understand what's the struggle, I'll be able to think about some of the plans we can implement, and also to help them, to support them in our environment. And school, my school, Hamilton Park Montessori, eventually moved me out of the classroom just to follow those students, because with the amount of time I need to observe, have conversation with the students, have conversation with teachers to modify the material, and have the conversation to talk to the parents. All these are the supports we offer in our environment for those community, and that's what I'm passionate about. And I really feel like through this is the only way I can think about in our school to support them. And luckily my school agree with the same thing, so that's why one of the main focus I do in HPMS is to support those students, and through this way. So this is our math classroom. I know the students decide to name it Discovery. So this is a math classroom. So as you can see, in Montessori environment, it always will be you can work individually or you can work together in a small group. This is one of the things is called the freedom of choice. So they can choose to do that on their own, or they want to do that with do the works with their friends. That's very helpful. And this is one of our biggest classroom. As you can see, like our lockers are all here. In the year of the adolescent years, they really need the privacy. So each one of them has their own locker, and to put their backpack in, to decorate the way they want to. So this is where they put their belongings. And this is also one our biggest classroom. So every Friday we have our community, the end of week community meeting here. But every day in the morning they also start their days with their advisor all together in this room. So if they have any questions, if they have any concerns, they can bring that up and the whole group can listen to the concern. I want to point out in Montessori environment, we always have mixed age group. So in middle school, it will be 6th grade, 7th grade, and 8th grade all mixed together. And some people ask me like, how can you teach math or humanities or science like not by grade? How can you teach in mixed age group? And I find it's funny because I actually don't know how to teach in just by one grade, because for me, like all 6th graders will be needing the same thing. But if I have mixed age group, I have older one can coach the younger one. That's actually in a Montessori model. So that's interesting to me that people ask me about that. But this is our classroom. So, how to help students to foster that sense of responsibility and also the ability for the problem solving? This is actually one of the questions parents ask us a lot. And when they are still in early childhood program, what we do is we have an area actually called practical life, and a lot of times in the materials on those shelves, the practical life shelves are actually what you do daily at home. And when with their age grow older, we do want them to do the multi-steps works, meaning like you are gonna have all these materials, you're gonna figure out how to do that, but when you finish everything, you're gonna put things away. So that's the sense of a responsibility, right? You have to clean your space and put things away, and how to make sure all the pieces are used in one material. Actually, that's really the problem solving skills. And a lot of times students are facing all these pieces and think about, what are we gonna do, and what am I gonna do next step, and how am I, like, if let's say in this work there's one thing I'm missing, what am I gonna do? I can ask the teachers, I can ask my friends to help me. Like, there's some of the ways they can see how to solve the problem. And even in early childhood program, we will have the meeting time as well, the community meeting time. When I was a lead teacher, I remember one of the things I brought that to the community meeting a lot is like the block area. We always will have tons of conflicts in block area, and I usually will be write down those scenarios, and in the big meeting time I'll bring that up, like I noticed today so and so had an argument there, how can we solve the problem, and get their thinking, and then put the rules together. Like, for example, how many people should be going in? Can we really have like 10 people going to the block area, all build that together? Perhaps not. So it will be a joint conversation and an agreement all together to decide what are the rules in the community in my classroom. So that's how we help them to foster the sense of responsibility and also problem solving skills, and also how do you communicate with each other. These are all very important skills for the human life, right? And when it comes to middle school, it's basically the same thing as well. It's just larger skills, because middle schoolers for this age, they are very sensitive to the human rights and also what is a democracy, what's happening in the real world. So they frequently want to bring in what they saw on the newspaper, what they read about the stories online, like they discuss about that. And through those conversations, the only thing I believe, and that's what Maria Montessori says as well, the only way we can really create a peaceful environment is not like we don't talk about things. It's when we talk about things and we learn how to respect to each other, we listen to each other, and how can we come to kind of like a middle ground, like what, or we can agree with disagree, right? It's all these beautiful ideas for the human world as well. So they're practicing that every single day in their daily meeting as well, to propose, like, today I have some problem, but I don't feel anybody is helping me. In the middle school community, it becomes so much more about the problem of this whole school, or the problems outside of school in the human world, and we just discuss about that and think about what is the next step. How can we help the world? That kind of format. So obviously now this is like the 17th year I'm in this school, and plus the 5 years before this school. So this is like my 22 years of teaching. And why I decide to become a Montessori teacher, eventually just not going anywhere else, I truly believe in what Maria Montessori is believing is the children are the unique individual, and everybody is different, right? So basically that makes me feel like my work, I focus on the philosophy, I understand the Montessori philosophy, right? But like every child is so different, so how to apply that, everyone is different, and that does make me feel very unique. And that's the first thing, is the child center, and that's really the core of Montessori education. And the second thing I think is to prepare adult, meaning like me and my teachers. Like even right now, let's say I'm teaching in middle school, right? I have one humanity teacher, one math teacher, one science and robotic teacher, and one Spanish teacher. And this year we have one counselor joining us, but she's not only working with us, she works with the whole school, but still the six of us, basically like the team for all middle schoolers. There are totally 35 middle schoolers this year. And this takes like the whole day to discuss about them. So I don't only trust myself, we function as a team. So I will listen to the observation in this class, in that class. We need to piece everything together. Then we can picture what is the struggle or what is the strength. Like even when we spot on, oh, this is really this student's strength, we email the parents and we talk to the individual about like, do you know, like when you're doing this way, it's really good. That's how they come to the confidence, right? It's all about who they are, how they present themselves, and how do they feel comfortable to be what kind of adult in the future in the world. So that's really what I love about, like, I think all these perspectives like connect together, but those two perspectives are the two parts I really love about Montessori.